Justice Madanga, Chief Justice Maya, former President Thabo Mbeki, and former President Kgalema Motlanthe, Acting Deputy Chief Justice Boiseni Matlanga, Minister of Justice, who I did not know was too young to vote in 1994. You now remind me of one other minister who is on the cabinet who tried to twist Nelson Mandela's arm to get 16-year-olds to vote. And she convinced Nelson Mandela that it was correct to have 16-year-olds to vote. And it took those very strong arguments of a number of people who are here today to de-convince Nelson Mandela that 16-year-olds should not vote. So I see that you are among those who are campaigning for 16-year-olds to vote. Chief Justices from various countries who have come to our country at the instance of our Chief Justice, who I commended earlier that she has succeeded in inviting so many luminary Chief Justices and Justices from various other countries. And we'd like to applaud her for that and thank her for having us. And Chairperson of the Council of Provinces, Ms. Tsipane Mtsweni, Deputy Speaker, Dr. Anil Lotriet, members of Parliament and members of the legal fraternity and members of the diplomatic corps, representatives of political parties who are here present, and distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. It is for me a profound honor to be here today, together with all of you, as we mark a significant milestone in our democratic journey. This moment in many ways calls for celebration, but it calls for much more. It calls for a reflection, but also for a recommitment and for a renewed vision of constitutionalism in our country. When the Constitutional Court was established 30 years ago in a newly democratic South Africa, this in itself was a bold act. It was also a bold institutional response to a history that had denied the majority of South Africans their basic human rights. It was tasked with interpreting and safeguarding the rights enshrined in the Constitution of 1996. But its role was always more than legal. It was deeply symbolic. It was a noble symbol of our democratic order, both immortal and a legal compass. This court was established on the ruins of an oppressive legal system and was built on the grounds of a former prison, as the Chief Justice said earlier, embodying the hope that the law could become an instrument of justice rather than repression. Allow me to briefly cast my mind back to the 8th of May 1996. This was the day when the Constitution was adopted by the Constitutional Assembly. Speaking in my capacity then as chairperson of the Constitutional Assembly, I described this, our Constitution, as our new nation's birth certificate. reflecting the history from which we have emerged and the values of human dignity, equality, and freedom that we now cherish. A birth certificate affirms the existence, the identity, and the legal recognition of every human being, and indeed every citizen. It grants a person access to rights, to services, to attend school, to work, to travel, and to participate in various aspects of society's life. Just like a person cannot enjoy their rights without a birth certificate, without the Constitution, our country would be cast adrift and would be vulnerable to the excesses of unchecked power. We celebrate the existence of this court over the 30 years in which it has defended our democracy and its democratic vision, as set out in our birth certificate, our Constitution. This court has been the guardian, watching over our nation's legal constitutional health, just as a parent would attend to the health of their growing child. The establishment of the court lent legitimacy to the new order at the time when we were emerging from decades of apartheid oppression. In many ways, the court was born of struggle and hope, anchored in the belief that never again shall South Africa be governed without regard to dignity, equality, and justice for all who live in it. In the early years since democracy and well beyond, this court has contributed not just judicial validation of the constitutional order. It has elevated the consciousness of our people about their constitutional rights. It has contributed to building trust in our legal or judicial system. Through principled constitutional interpretation, it has also contributed greatly towards advancing national cohesion and reconciliation. This objective of national cohesion and reconciliation has been enhanced by the court through its decisions. It has ensured that all people in our country are treated fairly and equally under the law, thus affirming the legitimacy of the legal order and promoting a sense of belonging amongst all citizens. The progressive, far-reaching judgments handed down by this court, as we heard earlier, include Makwanyane, that abolished the death penalty, the Grootboom case that is centered on the right of housing to assist South Africans, and the Minister of Health versus Treatment Action campaign that dealt with the right to health care and access to HIV/AIDS treatment. The Constitutional Court has developed a rich, transformative jurisprudence. These judgments are not merely legal decisions. They are decisions that have changed lives. They've also shaped our society and strengthened our democracy. The court's judgments have advanced the rights of same-sex couples, of women in traditional marriages, of the sick and infirm, and of the most marginalized members of society. They have affirmed that dignity, equality, and freedom are not reserved for the powerful, but guaranteed for all. The expansion of the court's appellate jurisdiction in 2013 to deal with matters of general public importance has further expanded the frontiers of access to justice for all. As the Constitutional Court judges, you were appointed at a time of great complexity in the life of our nation, and navigating the imperative of societal transformation back then was certainly extremely difficult. And yet the court, since its inception, set the tone for humanistic jurisprudence that continues to endure till today. The Constitutional Court, like any other institution, has had to weather many a societal and political storm. We acknowledge with deep respect the caliber of leadership the court has drawn, jurists of independent mind, jurists of great intellect and moral courage. From the pioneering judgments of the court's early years to the complex cases of today, the judiciary has been a pillar of stability, especially in times of political uncertainty as well. The bench, again, not unlike any other sector in society, will have borne witness to the many debates around transformation, around judicial demographics, and around access to the courts by citizens. The court has at times found itself dragged into political controversies and has had to manage occasional frictions with the executive over the separation of powers. And yet, amidst all these, the Constitutional Court has not been shaken, but stood firm as a credit to the democratic order that we established. What has defined the Constitutional Court that we are proud of is not just the wisdom of its judgments, but the courage of its convictions. It has withstood political pressure, defended the separation of powers, and asserted that no person or institution is above the Constitution. It has done so with a steady voice, grounded in reason, compassion, and principle. This very building here on Constitutional Hill is a testament to that resilience. Built on the site of the old fort prison that once symbolized oppression and pain, the Constitutional Court building reflects the hopes and the aspirations of our people. Whether it is the architecture, the artwork, the interior designs, the design of the doors of the judges' chambers, or the furnishings inside the court itself, these all represent a constitutional order that lives and breathes. The success of the court which we celebrate today has been achieved through the collective effort of many. And indeed, it is a product of a judicial legal ecosystem. The legal profession, through its attorneys and judges, come to this court to present arguments that test and involve the meaning of our Constitution. The government plays a role as it bears the duty and responsibility to implement court rulings. Civil society continues to act as a vigilant watchdog and as an advocate of the voiceless in our country. The public, whose confidence in the rule of law endures, gives this court its legitimacy. We pay tribute to the justices, past, and present, to the clerks of the court, legal scholars and advocates whose work has deepened our constitutional culture. Their integrity, intellect, and independence have given life to the ideals of our Constitution. And I do want to take this moment and opportunity to pay tribute to those of our founding Constitutional Court Justice who are here with us today. And we pay tribute to you because you were there at the beginning. My legal advisor, Advocate Nokukanya Jere, was one of the clerks of the court, and she has related those early days to me of the cramped spaces in Bram Park where the court temporarily sat, to when the court moved to the current site in 2004 when it was still under construction. She has told me about water leaking through the skylight and dripping onto the desks and papers of a number of advocates, and about lawyers drudging up the great African steps, their fancy shoes full of mud with the wet and the dusty construction site. We thank you for having gone through all that. Must have been real suffering that you went through. At the same time, I'm sure for all who had the privilege of being part of those early days, working at this court, there was a sense of elation at being part of history that was in the making, of being part of something far greater, something that all one's years of legal training and preparation had prepared them for. As a nation, we can be nothing short of immensely proud of the Constitutional Court. And this, I want to say to those who have come from other countries, that this is an institution that we are immensely proud of. We are also proud of what it has achieved. And we're also proud of its ongoing and preeminent role in our society. Just as society continues to evolve and adapt, the court too has demonstrated its own capacity to interpret our Constitution in response to the lived experience and realities of our people. It has and continues to do so without fear or favor, and remains a bulwark of justice and hope. The reality we must confront is that there are significant challenges to constitutionalism today. There is a disconnect between the promise of our Constitution and the lived realities of South Africans. The promise of the Constitution is far from fully realized. Persistent inequality threats to judicial independence that are often voiced, lack of implementation of court orders, and the erosion of trust in institutions remain pressing challenges. The advancement of socio-economic rights is not as far as we wish it to be, particularly with respect to the rights of our people in relation to housing and basic services that should sustain their lives. It will forever remain a blight on our democracy that the applicant in the groundbreaking Grootboom judgment, Ms. Irene Grootboom, died in 2008 without her dream of a decent house having been fulfilled, despite her right to housing having been adjudicated by this court. Deepening respect for constitutionalism across all sectors must start with the state. We must acknowledge the troubling irony of lauding the Constitutional Court's progressive judgments on one hand, especially on socio-economic rights, with the reality that the state apparatus has, in many of these cases, had to be compelled by this very court to fulfill its obligations. This points to widespread and systematic shortcomings in service delivery that must be addressed. Our people should not have to resort to litigation to have their rights realized. And this is the paramount consideration. At the same time, the potential for reducing litigation against the state must be addressed, and this requires structural change. To ensure that the judiciary execute their duties independently, effectively, and with dignity, government must and will provide a range of institutional infrastructure, financial, administrative, and legal support. The support is crucial for maintaining judicial independence, which is a cornerstone of democracy and the rule of law. The 2022-2023 Judiciary Annual Report points to challenges being experienced by the Constitutional Court with respect to finalizing matters against targets. This is no doubt owing to the significant volume of cases that the court has to deal with. The 2013 challenges, or rather changes to the court's jurisdiction, have further contributed to this workload. Enhancing access to justice and improving court services has been allocated in this year's budget, and there have been increases for improving superior court services, for judicial education and support, and for filling of vacant posts and to address other funding shortfalls. Chief Justice, you will have had the Minister of Finance for the very first time in many, many years singling out the assistance that will be given financially to the judiciary and to the Constitutional Court. I do hope that as you listened to the budget being presented in the privacy of your chambers or your home, you did applaud the Minister of Finance. I'm not asking for you to applaud him now. We reaffirm our commitment to providing all necessary support to our courts as they administer justice. At our meeting with yourself, Chief Justice, and members of the judiciary recently, we committed to taking steps to advance the independence of the judiciary. I see former Chief Justice Zondo here with us. He continuously, as he was Chief Justice, even on the last day as he was leaving, insisted that we need to reach an agreement on the independence of the judiciary. Former Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, your wish is now being fulfilled and will be fulfilled through your successor, so you can smile. A joint committee is now in action to finalize this whole process of the independence of the judiciary. It has been an anomaly of our constitutional architecture that we've had Parliament as an independent institution in our Constitution, fully and properly recognized, and the executive, but the judiciary has, on an unfair basis, had to depend on government on a variety of matters, from getting approval for the appointment of people and not even being in complete control of their own budget. This comes to an end now. The judiciary will be independent. We will ensure the judiciary is rightly constituted as an equal branch of the state, same level as government and the legislature, the executive and the legislature. The journey traveled by this court has been a long one, and we celebrate it today. We celebrate the court's existence as a living symbol of not only justice but transformation. The court carries extraordinary mandate and weighty responsibilities, yet it has always risen to the moment. Its legacy of courage and conscience endures. Let us use this occasion not only to celebrate but to recommit. As legal professionals, you must commit to a legal profession that upholds ethics, deepens constitutional jurisprudence, and serves the public good. As government leaders, we must commit to respect the rule of law, to strengthen institutions, and to implement court decisions in good faith. And as a collective, we should ensure that the values enshrined in our Constitution continue to define our national identity and guide our development. 30 years on, the Constitutional Court remains a beacon of democracy in our country, a compass for our future journey, and may it continue to stand as a testament to justice, to accountability, and to the resilience of the people of South Africa. South Africa faces many challenges: poverty, inequality, joblessness, underdevelopment. Yet we move towards as a collective with confidence, as a people with great strength, fortified by the knowledge that the guardians of our constitutional order is continuing to develop good jurisprudence to continue guiding our democracy. As we look to the next 30 years, we should ensure that the Constitutional Court remains a living institution, an institution that is responsive, that is principled, and an institution that is deeply rooted in the values of Ubuntu, accountability, and human dignity. We do wish the court well on this auspicious occasion, and I'm rather glad that the various countries that are represented here, some of them will speak and be able to continue enriching the democracy that many of us fought so hard and for so long for. Nelson Mandela will be smiling wherever he is to see that this court, which he inaugurated, continues to exist, but continues to gain greater strength and confidence. Chief Justice, we thank you for this occasion. It is a great occasion for celebrating the work of our court, but we wish that for the next 30 years, the work of this court will have been even more enriched. Thank you very much.